A tough schedule for Clemson in 2025. What will the record projection be? Let's get into it. First, let's look back at the last 4 years in our projection formula. So in 2021, we actually projected them to go 12-0. They went 9-3, so definitely below the projections there. In 2022, projection was 10-2. They went 10-2. In 23, they were projected to go 9-3. They finished 8-4. And then in 2024, projected to go 8-4. They went 9-3. So the last 2 years have kind of flip-flopped. But again, in 2022, it was right on the money. 21 was, that was a bit of a surprise. But again, the last 3 years, our projection has been pretty accurate, either exactly right or off by one game. So will they match the projection this year? Will they be better by the projection by a game, or maybe worse by a game? We will see. Let's take a look at what that projection is. This is the schedule again. This is the scale that we use. So it's all based off of our tier rankings. Clemson is in tier number 2. They're in tier 2. And that means if they play another tier 2 team, the game will be in the 40 to 60% range. It'll stay in the white, basically a 50-50 game. If they play a tier 3 team, that game goes to 61 to 70%. If it's at home, if that game is on the road, then it drops down into the white, 40 to 60%. And that's kind of the way this works. So we start with the easier games for Clemson, and you've got actually 4 of them: Troy, Duke, Florida State, and Furman. And again, this is all based off of our tier rankings. So the way we did it is we ranked the teams at the end of the season last year, put them into tiers, and then going into this year, you can only move up or down a tier, one tier. You can only go up or down one tier. And so Florida State was at the very, very bottom. So even though they could be a lot better this year, just with the way, again, our tier formula works, they can only move up one tier, and so they are still way down there. So that's kind of why that game is in the green. Now, there is no human element here. If I'm looking at that game and I'm looking at Florida State and the potential for them to be better this year, yeah, I'm going to say they've got more than a 20% chance against Clemson. I would say that game probably should be in the blue, again, with the human element. But this is all based off of a mathematical formula. And that's, again, our predictions will come later. This is simply a projection based off of where these teams really finished last year and then how tough the schedules are. But we did move teams, some teams did move up or down by one tier if they added a lot in the transfer portal or they lost a whole lot, things like that. So those 4 games that Clemson, I would think you feel pretty good about those 4 games. Next, we've got Syracuse and Boston College, these games in the blue. I think Clemson's probably double-digit favorites in these 2 games, so you feel pretty good about those games as well. That means 6 games on the schedule that are not guaranteed wins, but if you're a Clemson fan, you're counting on these games. You've got to win these 6 games. A loss in any of these games would be a major disappointment. So those are the 6 games you feel good about, or feel really good about. And then we've got games where you feel pretty good about, and that's North Carolina and SMU. So SMU is in tier 3, North Carolina is in tier 4, but that game is on the road. That's why that one is in the purple. So yeah, these are games where Clemson's probably going to be favored by about a touchdown, 6, 7, 8 points if I had to guess. They will definitely, I think, be favored, but not by a lot. So it wouldn't be a shocker if they were to lose one of these games, if there was an upset in one of these 2 games. But again, if you're a Clemson fan, you really need to get these. So that gives you 8 wins, and then the season would really come down to these other 4 games. LSU, Georgia Tech, Louisville, and South Carolina, all 3 of those on the road, and those are going to be very tough tests. So where do these games fall? Well, for Clemson, they're all in the 50-50 category. So LSU is a tier 2 team, same tier as Clemson. Georgia Tech is in tier number 3, but it's on the road. Same thing with Louisville, and then South Carolina is also a tier 2 team, just like LSU. So these games really are going to determine the season, in my opinion. If they don't slip up, if they win those other 8 games, if they can split these 4 games and just get to 10-2, that's probably going to get them into the college football playoff. Probably going to get them in the ACC championship if one of those losses is to LSU or South Carolina. So 10-2 is very doable. Again, if you're counting these other games as wins and you split the 50-50 games, 10-2 would be the projection. But we average everything out. So the odds would say that between Syracuse, North Carolina, Boston College, SMU, they're going to get upset somewhere. They're going to trip up, and they're going to split these 50-50 games. And the projection actually is 9-3 for Clemson. So that's the projection. Same record as what they had last year. I think that's fair. I feel personally pretty good about them going over that. Like if I was setting the over/under, and I don't know what that number is at right now, but I'd say Clemson's number is probably going to be 9.5. So I think they have just as good of a chance of going 10-2 as 9-3. But that's just, again, my personal prediction. Our formula does come out to 9-3. So that is the projection for Clemson in 2025.